Welcome to the Elevated Trader Podcast. I am Dr. Kristen Kidgel.
And I am Tracy Ball. Join us every week as we journey into becoming better traders.
We believe becoming better traders involves elevating our skill, mindset, and our health. In each episode, we will discuss the current book we are exploring, and we invite you to join us on this journey.
Are you ready to elevate your trading, mindset, and health to the next level? Let's do this. And welcome back, everyone, to the Elevated Trader Podcast. I am Tracy. I'm with my co-host, Kristen, and we have an amazing guest with us. Let the Trade Winds Flow is one of the books that we did, and we have the privilege of having Louise Bedford with us, one of the authors. How are you doing, Louise?
So good to be here. Very excited, Tracy.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. And you're all the way over in Australia.
Sure are. And it's just, look at that. We've got the little star on the map to show where I am. If you're watching along with the video, you'll see exactly where I'm pinpointed.
Exactly. Now, this was actually one of the books that both Kristen and I found to be something that we're going to keep on our shelf for a very long time and go back to it over and over and over again, because you have put together some amazing techniques to help traders or anybody in general work through some of their emotional or mindset issues. So thank you for that.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. And working with Dr. Harry Stanton, it was just such a dream. It was wonderful.
In the preface, you mentioned that your relationship with Dr. Stanton happened well before you even met him, and you were actually about 15 years of age. Can you actually speak to the importance and value that having a mentor through books actually played in your life?
Oh, look, it was just so important to me. So I actually have the actual book, this book, The Plus Factor. It isn't in print anymore, but you can see how old it is. It's all scuffed. I have read this hundreds of times. And this was the book that I read of Dr. Harry Stanton's, because when I was 15, I think we all go through a bit of a hormonal time and we just want to run away from home. At least I did, hands up. So when I was telling my second eldest sister, I'm sick of it, I'm going to run away from home, I'm getting a job, she said to me, look, I will support you completely. You can come and live with me. I will look after you, but on the proviso that you read this book first, The Plus Factor. She said, read it cover to cover, and then you will have my full support. But if you don't read that book, I'm not going to support you. And I'm going to tell Mum and Dad what you've just told me. My gosh, there was such a threat. And look, this book made such a difference. And in the very front, I'm hoping you can pick that up, you can see my sister's name there. It's Valerie, right? And there's also an inscription here from my beautiful Harry, because after I told Harry Stanton that this book literally saved my life, not only did I stay at home and finish school, I also studied psychology and business on the back of listening to my beautiful Harry Stanton. It was so instrumental. My life changed because of it. It chokes me up, girls, when I'm thinking of it. It was just such an important time for me, because it's one of those sliding doors moments. Sometimes in life we can go one direction and it will lead us on to greatness, or we can go another direction and who knows what could happen. For me, I think it was going into a very bad area. I think if I hadn't have played my cards right, if I hadn't have listened to my sister, if I hadn't have read that book, I could have been in a very different life situation than I am now.
Yeah, what a story.
Awesome.
Your sister, how did she come across that book? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, look, she's very, very into mindset. She found it on a bookshelf. It was one of the best-selling books. It was one of the very first positive motivational books prepared by an Australian author for the Australian market, and it got a bit of publicity at the time. So there was a big bookshelf of the plus factor laid out, and also the success factor, his later book. Harry wrote quite a few books, and it was just a big thing at the time. So way back then in the 80s.
Wow. You can definitely get a lot from it, and I'm glad that you came across this book, because that has snowballed into an effect that you're sitting right here with us, and you've actually written a few books yourself. You were mentored by Harry Stanton, and the rest of the world is better for it. So it's just it's an incredible option. Now, how did you actually get to write this particular book with him? What led you to that?
Years later, after I read his first book in my life, The Plus Factor, I remember telling my broker, a human broker in those days, I remember telling my broker that I had this fangirl crush on Dr. Harry Stanton, because isn't Harry the best? And my broker, I was very close with my broker at the time, he said that he knew Harry. And I'm like, what? You know Harry? Yeah, Harry's one of my clients, he says. I'll see if I can arrange an introduction. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, are you giving me a prank here? What's the deal? He said, no, I'll do what I can. I can't guarantee it. So anyway, behind the scenes, he set up with Harry. Harry phoned me on a Sunday night at my house. And it had been a little while since I'd spoken to my broker about Harry. And Harry gets on the phone. He says, oh, hi, it's Harry Stanton. Can I speak with Louise? And I said, it's Louise speaking. Who is it? And he said, it's Harry Stanton. And I said, who is it really? How embarrassing. And then after I realised it was actually the Harry Stanton, I gushed. I'm like, I've read all of your books. You changed my life. When I was 15, I read your book. That. And I just barreled him over with word after word after word, poor man. And finally, my husband was in the background, and he's just like, shh, stop. Like this. And I finally got the idea, okay, I'm talking too much. So I stopped and I said, I'm sorry. Why are you calling? So Harry said, look, I understand you read my book when you were 15. I just thought I'd give you a call and say hello. And we became firm friends. He had such a guiding force to my entire life. He helped me get through pregnancies with hypnobirthing for my birthing technique. He guided me when I wanted to leave my job, because I left my job to become a full-time trader. He was wonderful for that. He helped me understand the differences between people's criticism and people's gifts. And the difference is very distinct, and having that criticism as a gift when it's said in the right way has also guided my life. His techniques have infiltrated even my children's lives, because I teach those techniques to my children, and you know what? Sometimes my kids teach it to their friends. So you never know, with that good in your heart, what difference you can make, what generations you will affect in the future. If you've got a book inside you, if you've got a method that you want to explore, if you've got a kindness that you want to bestow upon another, I just urge you to do that, because you could make a complete difference to somebody's life trajectory.
I think this book can do that, because you think you're going to read a trading book, and then all of a sudden you're reading a book that starts to interject how important energy work is, and frequency, and your thoughts, and then it goes into, it kind of goes into it quickly, and I wasn't as far ahead in the reading as Tracy was, and Tracy is texting me, and she is freaking out excited because of what type of work I do in my chiropractic practice. I also do, and I'm certified in the emotion code, which is about releasing subconscious trapped emotions. And so there's muscle testing involved. And so it's still energy work. Everything that I do is energy work. I've been doing it almost 25 years now. And then she's like, oh my gosh, wait till you get to this chapter. Wait till you get this chapter, because that's kind of new material for Tracy. And so she was so excited. And we just really loved the book. We did. We were I don't know if you've listened to our episodes about the book.
I have. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love
we definitely
your
want to read
multiple part. Yeah, recording. I love that.
Yeah, we'll definitely read it annually. I have a feeling for sure. You cannot grasp all that book in one reading for sure.
Yeah, and I've even got, this is the earliest version of Let the Trade Winds Flow for those watching on the video. This is what it looks like. And there's my beautiful Harry. There he is. Isn't he gorgeous? So this was the one. I've sold thousands and thousands of this book face to face at different expos, and I even ran like a little TAFE course and I sold them, and that was fantastic. One of my clients actually, who is a beautiful man, he said to me, look, you love this book so much, but it's really out of date now in terms of some of the references in there. Like in this version, in the blue cover version, the old one that you can't get anymore, Harry refers to a typewriter. So Bruce said to me, look, why don't you ask Harry if you can update it? And it was tricky as well because the methods have not dated, have they, Kristen? I mean, you know, this is cutting edge stuff, and he wrote it so long ago. So it took some courage for me to actually say, because Harry was then a friend. He wasn't necessarily somebody that I was going to have a big professional association with. We'd created a couple of relaxation tracks together. We'd done a few articles together. But this next step, having a book in the public where we are totally forever bonded, I just felt quite uncomfortable. But it was almost like Harry read my mind. I was talking to him about, isn't it hard coming up with that new conversation with somebody that you know you need to go somewhere, but you don't feel like you can because you might be overstepping? And he said, what is it? What is it that you want to ask me? And so he knew. And I said, I really think we should rewrite your book together. And he made it just so beautiful and so easy. And I said to him, I will just take the whole thing over. You will barely have to do anything other than okay the new material and okay the edits. So he just jumped into it. And what a lovely bonding experience for me as a fangirl to enjoy my mentor in a professional peer-like capacity.
And talk about trading. Now, how did Chris get involved then?
Well, Chris Tate is my business partner. So
Okay.
Chris Tate is definitely aware of my ridiculous fangirl status with Harry. And because I'd introduced Harry to Chris over the years, and we felt that it was best that we both do this with Harry. Harry, as you know, is no longer with us. So even when we rewrote the book, he was incurring some awful health difficulties, and his beautiful wife, Valerie, was going through, and still is, some dementia-oriented issues. So Harry needed some support, and he knew that this is what he wanted to do, but we needed to make sure we handled that situation with reverence. I'm not meaning that we kid-gloved him, but we wanted to respect his personal situation to the point where we weren't burdening him with extra work, even though we knew that this had to get out into the world. And the book that was out of print, it was a travesty. So for me to do this for and with Harry was a gift of love.
Yeah, you would never know by reading the book that there was any of that happening in the background.
Well, that's good, because I know I haven't spoken about this publicly either. So thank you for allowing me to say what is in my heart. I really appreciate it, ladies.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Thank you for sharing.
And Kristen, just so you're aware, Louise she loves the name Chris. So her business partner's name is Chris, her husband's name is Chris, and Kristen, Kristen.
I know. I think your name,
Yeah.
Kristen, it's fantastic. My best female friend is Christine. I've had multiple Chris's for boyfriends, barely any other name. So it is a very peculiar thing, but we're rolling with it. Yes.
Yes, we are.
So maybe you guys have a book in the future. I don't know. Who knows?
Oh,
Kristen's an
fun.
author as well. So she's yeah, anyway.
yeah, I can appreciate what you said, that sometimes you just need to get it off your heart
Yep.
and out there. Like, why am I writing this book? Why am I going through it? But
Actually, Harry did help me with that too, because he was with me all the way through with all of my writing, with all of my books. And Harry said, you have to write enough so that the magic gets in you and it's no longer you writing. Big, isn't it? And I think he's right, because you know that time, Kristen, when the book is no longer yours, you are just pouring out. It's almost like you're a conduit. You're pouring out everything that you can, and there is a level of flow there that is almost unparalleled. I especially felt that when I wrote The Secret of Candlestick Charting. I wrote that straight after I got my first book. My first book's The Secret of Writing Options. I held that new, fresh first copy of that book. I held it to my chest like it was a baby. And then I literally dumped it, and that day started writing my next book.
oh dear.
Yeah. So Harry helped me with that, because I'm like, God, I've rejected my firstborn and I'm onto my second shiny thing. And he said, no, you've got more in you. That's actually the second book is the first one that you should have written, but they didn't let me, because candlesticks was such a new technique. Even though it's an ancient technique, they did not want me to publish that book first. They wanted me to get a bestseller under my belt, then I could choose my topic.
Well, there you go. Now, you published this book in the revision anyway in 2014. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's now 2022.
Yeah.
And some time has gone by. Is there anything that you wish you had have been able to put into the book?
Do you know what would have been really nice to add is some of the new research, which wasn't available when the book was published. There's a field of research that is involving human perception, shall we say. So, Kristen, I know you'll be able to help me with some of this, okay? So I'll just give you some of the research around trading, and maybe, Kristen, if you can add from your perspective, your thoughts on this. So there's a field of research, particularly with trading, but also things like yoga, things like meditation, and it's interoception. So let's just go through some definitions. So if you're introspective, you're thinking about your own thoughts and feelings. It's part of the metacognition part of trading psychology and any psychology. We're the only animal capable of thinking about our own thoughts and feelings. And introspection, we can feel introspective, go down to the beach, look at the waves, think about our life, solve our life issues. There is interoception, which is the area of research that I would have liked to put in the book. Interoception is where we are painfully sometimes aware of what is happening in our bodies. So from a trading perspective, when a trade has gone wrong, I can literally feel my own heartbeat. I can feel it. I can hear it. I have a pulse in my ear. It goes duck, 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 duck. When I'm under pressure, I'm so conscious of it. I can feel my stomach flip, whoa, kind of thing in my belly. It's actually that internal awareness of your own personal organs and your own signals. You can feel yourself sweat. So that's interoception, and I'm going to tell you some of the research about that in just a moment. And there's extraception, which is the awareness of the outside world, the impact on your skin. So how do we meet the outside world? So if you go outside, can you feel the wind on your face? So it's outside, but you can feel it. Can you feel the raindrops on your skin? Sure, it's outside, but you can sense it. Okay, so... Okay. How are we going? We've got the thrust of it?
Yeah. Your definitions are wonderful.
Excellent. So now the research I would have loved to include is the interoception research. What that is saying, and this is done in several different studies, it is replicated in several countries. The people who have a higher level of awareness of their own physical inside influences actually do better as traders.
Maybe that's why I say women are better traders.
Because perhaps we're more aware. Now, we were wondering as well, Harry and I were wondering, I mean, this is still while Harry was alive, but I've continued the research afterwards. We were wondering, is this an innate quality or can you train it? Because of course, if it's innate, it would self-select for traders. Because, okay, the people who have that quality, they trade and then they trade well, and so they continue trading, and then you've got a self-selection process that nobody can influence. What a shame. But no, the research says that you can train your interoception. You can become conscious of your own heartbeat. You can focus on your own internal energy and your body signals, and that awareness can help you trade not only with profitability, but also with your longevity as a trader. You're less likely to quit. Now that is, to me, fascinating, and that is one of the areas, Kristen, that Tracy and my area of trading intersects directly with yours. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, I didn't realize they were doing a lot of research on, I mean, it makes sense that if you have more, I think most of the books that we've read, we call it being present, having presence with yourself. You know, a lot of the books that we read are mindset, so it's like self-perception of your thoughts. But obviously, I think even more than your thoughts, people perceive them, can have that introspection. Am I saying that right?
Interoception.
Yeah. Where they're identifying their heart rate, or they're sweating, or they're getting antsy, or any of those things. So are you saying that the research is showing that if you're better at it, noticing it, that you'll be a better trader? Or if you're better noticing it and you have control over it?
Well, the first step is noticing it. The first step is noticing it, because it seems that once you can notice it, then you can harness methods to be able to calm the heck down. So this is what my yoga teacher has been telling me for decades. You know, let's breathe deeply. Let it out slowly. Become super aware of your body and aware of how you're interacting with the world. I'll give you perhaps a direct trading example, because I have watched traders as they're putting on orders. Now, I don't know if you've ever had a chance just to think of the power of observation. I think this is really fascinating. The number of times Harry and I used to sit in a cafe and we'd say, go, right? And we'd just quietly observe, okay, look at everybody around you. And then Harry would say, stop. And we'd say, okay, look at each other. What did you see? Right? And we have to describe what we see. So that... Gosh, you get two people with a psychology background, we play weird games. So that level of awareness can actually help your trading. And when I've watched my traders put on orders, here's what they do, okay? They're looking on the desk, okay, they've got everything set. All right, they're ready. They've got their platform open. Okay, they've got written down exactly what they have to do. They have to buy this many shares. They take a deep breath in, and they damn well hold their breath until the order is entered.
I'm going to start watching Tracy now.
Well, now that you're aware of it, you may not do it. And I've actually coined the term trading apnea.
Wow.
I think we've got to start with theories, don't we, and name them if we can come up with a title. It might come out into general population. That ability to hold your breath and wait until you've done whatever it is that you need to do. Everything is counterproductive to what our bodies actually need. We need oxygen, we need to be able to breathe and relax, we need to be in the flow, and we need to be sure that we are not missing details. Holding your breath is going to be counteractive to all of that.
I'm pretty sure I don't do that, Kristen, but you can watch me. I'm pretty sure I probably did. I probably did when I first started, but now it feels like it's second nature. I can do all sorts of things. My biggest problem is my eyesight, so I get numbers mixed up when I'm doing it, but that's about it. Now, what you're talking about makes complete sense, and I'm actually going to take it back to even some of the things that you talked about in the book, which was the coin flip and even the pendulum, and how both of those things, your body and your subconscious already has all of the answers, and that can be demonstrated very clearly with just even the coin flip. And I love that analogy in the book, because I deal with this just on a regular basis all the time when I'm asking my family, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. And then you go, okay, well, I'm going to make this. And then the first thing that comes out of their mouth, no, I don't want that. It's like, Kate, I just asked you, what do you want? But as soon as you're forced with a choice, all of a sudden those answers start to come out. So the more you practice with that, the more you can become in tune with it. And the pendulum, you and I, Kristen, we've been practicing with the pendulum. You do your muscle testing. There's all sorts of things that are tapping into that subconscious knowledge. And I just love that the book touched on that. It was probably the most influential part of the book for me, was to read that and understand that and buy into it.
Yeah, so, I love that.
Yeah.
And you know what Dr. Harry would say to you, Tracy, is with your family, if they say, oh, I don't know what I want for dinner, he would say for you to say to them, well, if you did know what you wanted, what would it be? That's a good one, question. Isn't it?
Yes, ask better questions.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm asking the wrong question.
Reframe.
Yeah, I'm asking the wrong question.
So let's look at the coin toss and the pendulum. So for everybody who isn't as familiar with those techniques, Tracy, first of all, if you can talk about the coin toss, and then I'll talk about the pendulum perhaps in a real life example.
Perfect. Okay, well, the coin toss, and I've given this, I guess, scenario to a lot of my mentor students as well and got them to practice it. But whether you believe this or not, here's how this works. The idea is that you have a decision to make and you're unsure of what decision you should be making. And you want to make a decision or you need to make a decision, so flip a coin. Now, that might seem really flippant. That might seem very reckless and careless, but the reality is the minute that you flip that coin, you know what the answer is. And for anyone out there, and I'm going to relate this to women because I'm a woman, Kristen's a woman, Louise, you're a woman. Women at some point may have had a pregnancy test. And I can tell you that when you take that test and you're waiting for the results, you may not have known before how you felt about whether or not you're pregnant or not pregnant, but you darn well do when you see that test result. Your emotion is either going to tell you, not really what I want to do, or yay, you're elated. You know what it is. So the coin toss is kind of the same thing where you flip that coin and immediately you know exactly how you want it to land. And that's really what the coin toss is. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did. Okay, and the thing that I think is interesting is that after the coin is released and you slap it down and you can't see the coin, is you ask yourself that question again. So the thing is, the coin is not making the decision. You can make your own decision. That's the real critical time. So what it's doing is it's pushing us towards a decision nexus. Now, a decision nexus is where we are open to all possibilities, but in line with our values and in line with our experiences, we are pushing ourselves in one particular direction. We actually do know at a very deep level what we want in life, who we want to choose as a spouse, how we want to progress in terms of our education. There is a deep knowing within us all, and that is the part that we're trying to push ourselves into with that decision nexus. So I do find it fascinating because I think we really do know. We really do know what we need to do for ourselves. We know the right decision. It's just that so often we allow the environment, the other voices in our head, for goodness sake, social media, to get in the way of our true purpose and our true clarity.
So true. Yeah. So true. So pendulum.
With the pendulum technique, yes. So when I first got that book into my hand, Let the Trade Winds Flow, I said to Harry, I'm going to come over and you're getting the first edition, the new edition of the rewrite. And so Chris Tate, my business partner, and I flew over to Tasmania. We had the most horrendous flight over. It was so bumpy and so terrifying. We got off the plane, we went and met with Harry and Valerie, and we had the most gorgeous high tea. It was like complete extremes. It's like 1 minute we think we're going to die, next minute we're in Harry and Valerie's loving embrace. It was just contrasting. And it was like so dainty and quaint. Tasmania is a very old-fashioned, antique type of place with sandstone buildings and a lot of history. And we were in such a beautiful location, and we'd already had like a little bit of food, but it was like, do we go the next step and do full desserts? And Valerie breaks out a pendulum and she holds it over the menu, and one side has got the desserts and the other side's the blank part of the table, and she swings the pendulum and she goes, we're going for desserts. And she used it, bang, straight in front of us. It was beautiful to see. So yeah, we had desserts and they were great. So it's that same concept where there's a part of you that is actually guiding the pendulum to swing in the direction that you want, to hover over the area that you know is the thing that you really do genuinely want. Yeah. How have you used this in your practice?
Do you want me to start, Kristen? Or do you want to go?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I have adopted it as a pre-trading day routine. So the first thing that I do is I basically ask, am I in the right mindset to trade today? And if it answers yes, great. Then I can trade today and I can go on to some other questions. If it says no, then I need to dive a little bit deeper and I'll ask questions like, is there something that I can do to prepare myself with my mindset to be able to trade? And if it says yes, then I'll go, do I need to read something? Yes or no? Do I need to take a walk? Yes or no? Do I need to, I just start to narrow it down.
Yeah,
If it says yes, I am in the right mindset, then from there, I actually will narrow down whether or not I should wait the first 30 minutes of trading before I look for a trade, whether I should wait for the first hour. I'll ask it a time. So do I wait less than an hour to take a trade? If it says yes, then I'll break it down. Do I need to wait less than 30 minutes, less than 15 minutes, less than 5 minutes? Can I take a trade right out of the open? So I just use the troubleshooting techniques to narrow down the search. And then the other way that I'm using is after I take a loss, I'll ask the questions again. Am I in the right mindset to trade again? And this is kind of a twofold thing. So yes, you get an answer from the pendulum, and maybe I'm guiding it to what my deepest heart's desire is, but I'm also taking enough time away to reset some of the emotional junk that might be loaded up in my brain. So you get that amygdala out of the equation, and you can now start to think rationally again. And that's a great habit to be in. So regardless of whether or not you believe that the pendulum works or doesn't work, the very act of asking the question and taking the time is a good habit to be in that will, like I said, reset from that emotional state back into an ability to cognitively make decisions. So that's kind of how I've been using it, and I want to utilize it some more in other areas, but that's it. Kristen, how about you?
So it's interesting because I did get a pendulum from a very special person for my most recent birthday. And I had one. I wasn't really using it because I use muscle testing in my office. But the book kind of opened my eyes to, why are you not using this in other parts of your life? So I had thought about that years ago. But when it comes to trading, I agreed with Tracy. We kind of came up with a plan, like, am I in the right mindset? But she does stocks and shares, and I like to trade futures. So I usually only do the NASDAQ or the ES Mini. And so at that point, I like to ask, well, which one should I trade, or how many contracts? So it's all about, and I agree with Tracy, is that it's about the right question. You have to really, and I think it's the way I'm using it in my personal life, not just trading, but also in some of my decision making around just things that I'm like, I feel like I just don't know which way to go. I'm really kind of getting pulled, and maybe that's just my stress level. I haven't quieted down. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask my subconscious, and my higher self, tell me what I need to do in this situation. And I think it's helped me also ask the right questions. And I have a 24-year-old and an 18-year-old. And so this kind of data has helped me help them. So I agree with you, like when we share this with other younger generations, it helps them ask better questions. Whether they want to use a pendulum or not, at least they're, using that type of technique with asking questions too. So it's pretty profound. And I think, actually I just got a text message this morning of a mutual friend of Tracy and I's who is waving the book. It's a selfie of her. She just got the book in the mail. And so I'm excited for her to get to that chapter, because the more people that get to that, they're going to be like, well, wait a minute. And I think you even said, Louise, in the book, you wrote something about it being woo-woo. So
yeah,
what made you have it? Yeah.
Hang on in there.
Hang in there. And I agree. Hang in there if you haven't read the book. I think everyone will thoroughly enjoy it. Push through and give it a test. It's pretty fascinating. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I think also that if you're open to some of these broader techniques, then that can open up other areas in your life. After Harry passed away and I sent his family every resource that I had ever created with Harry and did my best to get them to realise the impact that he's had, because to be open with you, I'm not 100% sure if his family fully understood what his impact and his ripple effect had been. It's honestly, sometimes I think the people closest to us don't really see us for who we are in terms of our greatness. But I got an email from a school friend of Harry's, who I'm still in touch with today, Philip Benjamin. And Philip has since sent me, and we've caught up a few times, photos of Harry as a child and his tennis playing and his dancing, and he was just an incorrigible little kid. He went to my brother's school. He was raised in the same area that I was raised. I went to a school called Kilbreda, and he was in Mentone. He's at the brother school's in Mentone, which is the exact suburb where I went to school in. All these things I've found out after Harry passed from Philip, and I really wish I had have known about his own childhood and his fight to be able to share with people his theories. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's the things we learn as we go.
Well, we have read a lot of mindset books. I've read a lot of mindset books. I even did my extended minor in psychology at university as well. And I remember being able to identify a lot of problems, but really what were the solutions? How do you get from A to B? And I always found that this book is kind of a gold mine of active technique that can be used to get from A to B. And that's what's so unique and rare about it and different from all the other books out there that I've read. There might be some books that throw a little bit of active stuff in it, but that's all this is. It's just one after the other of active techniques, and that's why it's going to be a resource that stays on my shelf, and I'm sure on Kristen's shelf for the rest of our days.
Well, the visualization alone, I apologize for interrupting, but I didn't not want to forget that part, because that word, again, can be often a little woo-wooed, but visualization, I don't know about in other countries, but in America, people talk about it all the time. So it's really easy to talk about, and I'm pretty sure probably a couple decades ago, maybe it wasn't. But my point is that the way he wrote about it and how to use the techniques in the book are fascinating. They really, and I just want to make sure to point out how incredible they are, for sure.
Yeah, and the thing that I like that both of you have drawn out is that it's a very practical application of knowledge. So one of the things that Harry was very forthright about was being able to see instant behavioural change. So he trained Olympians, he trained people not to smoke, and it's some of the instant results that he got are just incredible. And I think sometimes we think we have to lie down on a couch, talk about our childhood, and then eventually 10 years later maybe come up with some realization. Unfortunately, that popular vernacular of imagining what psychotherapy could lead to, he totally turned that on its head. He did CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, before there was even a name for it. He was very, very practical and very confrontational. You know, some of the things that he did were so direct and so forthright that if as a pattern interrupter you weren't prepared for that, if you weren't willing to let that in, then that would be a bit of a shock. So I think with everybody who has read the book, they are able to allow that pattern interruption, and they've been allowed to flow with these techniques in a way that perhaps you can't get by 10 years of psychotherapy lying on a couch. I love it. Yeah.
I love the name Let the Trade Winds Flow, but it really should be called Game Changer.
Oh,
So, yeah, it really should be, because
good.
it's a game changer. And if any of his family is listening, if any of Dr. Harry Stanton's family is listening, please know that he's impacted billions of lives, and he will continue to do so for eternity. And that's just a reality. So thank you. Now, you said in the book, a correctly phrased question is a problem half solved. And we were just talking about questions and asking questions. I'm curious what are some of the good questions that you think that traders should adopt on a regular basis?
Yeah, that's great. One of the things I'm looking at with my traders at the moment is how they respond when they're making a loss, because there are a few different things that come into play. You mentioned the amygdala just before, Tracy. So if we think in terms of the 1956 Miller research into fight, flight, and freeze, they are the three predominant things that people and animals do when they have a shock, if there's a threat, if there's an instant thing that they need to respond to where they don't have time to put cognitive input into it. Fight, flight, freeze. Now, traders are often in the same boat. They, after they have a loss, will experience one of those three categories, and none of them are that productive when you think about it. So our goal as traders, I think, is to add in a pause, just a little interregnum, so that we can allow that higher brain functioning to kick in. So one of the ways to do that, after you've had a big loss and it's shocked you and you're reeling from it, journal on it. Write in your morning journal and ask yourself, what did I do well and what could I do differently? Now, what that will do, those questions that you're asking yourself, that will stop you from having that spiral in your thoughts. We have to feel the pain, we have to feel the dread, we have to feel the fear, yes. And then maybe we need to feel it again and see what else is missing. But after we've gone through that big fight, flight response, we need to actually intellectualize it and future pace it and work out how do we take that lesson into the future so that we don't repeat it. And I think that is at the core of people learning from their own mistakes and taking those lessons and applying them into the future.
I love that. It also keeps them from jumping into a FOMO trade immediately after. If you are held accountable with that action anyway, it takes time to journal. That would take a lot of time. So I'm thinking probably 10, 15 minutes at least would have to pass by before you could jump into another trade. It's a great idea.
And it can hurt. You know, your heart can really hurt. There's a lot of research at the moment about people who are going through a heartache because of a broken heart. They've, been jilted by their lover, which is biologically one of the worst threats, isn't it? Because that can affect your potential for breeding from an evolutionary perspective, whether you want children or not. Part of your body says, yes, God damn it, I want to breed. So that threat actually translates into physical pain. So if you've had a broken heart, it's actually the same as if somebody kicked you in the guts. It's the same sort of physical pain. Now, we can't have this as research as a topic yet, but I'm hoping to inspire somebody maybe listening to this particular episode to take this as a research topic. When traders have had a loss, are they actually more sensitive to and experiencing physical pain, just the way they would if their lover had jilted them? Because we are having a relationship with that trade. We have decided to bring that trade into our lives, and even though it's in a controlled environment and we are anthropomorphizing that share, because we think of them as human, we are in that relationship with that share. So does that cause the trader physical pain, especially a beginner trader, when that trade doesn't behave? I think it's a ripe body of research that we need to look at further.
I love it. I love it. That's mind-blowing, actually. I'm not even sure. How would you test that? Because I'm thinking, when
biochemistry.
Because it's not just that. I mean, there's so much packed into a loss that, I mean, because there's internal pain as well that you create against yourself. So it's like there's this feeling of I'm not good enough. There's a feeling of what did I do wrong? A failure. All these things that could potentially be going through your mind in addition to the rejection of the market. It's huge. That's huge.
And I think that's something that traders ruminate about. If I think about instantly the trade I'll never forget. Okay, so if I say to both of you, what is the trade that you will never forget? Instantly, you're going to be taken back, I'm guessing, to either an incredible profit or a loss that blindsided you. Am I right?
Yeah.
Actually, all I can come back with is either what happened yesterday or today. I can't go back far enough.
Yeah, well, that's actually a very good sign, Tracy.
Is it?
Probably shows that you're emotionally very, very healthy.
Maybe with the trading, I don't know. I still am reeling about the loss I had yesterday, and I'm exhilarated about the win I had today. So it's just like, that's all I can think about.
Primacy and recency effect. So often the first trades that we do impact us a lot, and the most recent trades that we do impact us a lot. So that's an interesting aspect. But my thought is that a lot of traders, when they have had an awful occurrence, is they talk about it, they ruminate, they drag it out, they picture it from every single angle until they're completely exhausted, and often that's at 3 a.m. when they can't do any good at all. So I would urge you, if you're looking to journal on something, journal all of your pain, get it all out, every single aching step that you took, everything that you did wrong, every time the dog barked and you wanted to wring that dog's neck, put it down. Then the next day, write other pieces of pain. Don't keep repeating that same pain. Write every other remnant of your pain in your journal. Do it again and again and again until there is no pain to talk about, because you have put it all down on paper. That will soothe your subconscious. It will be heard. It will be recognized. It will know that you have listened, and then it will allow you to be free from that pain. I have encouraged my traders to do this, and it has definitely freed them up. It's helped them move on, and it's helped them take responsibility for the parts that they are responsible for, which is, of course, the key to trading effectively.
That's great. And then you can book an appointment with Kristen, and you can release all those trapped emotions.
Yeah.
If you're dropping them and not processing them. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the people that play the victim mentality. Like, that's just the ruminating of the situation. But you have feelings, you need to process your feelings. And I feel like maybe the journaling of them, but then making sure that you're just not repeating them, because I feel like maybe that's the definitive line of the victim mentality, is you keep going down the same path instead of just releasing it. So that's just my little thought on that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. And perhaps as well, a technique to assist after you've done that and you have had that processing is to think ahead. So I'm very into working with my future self. So my future self, she's amazing. She's got her act together. Unbelievably so. She even speaks French. Can you believe it? So who is your future self? What does that person look like? What is the colour of their hair? Who are they waking up beside? What do they see when they wake up in the morning? Do they speak other languages? Are they still trading? Ask that one of yourself. Can you picture that future self? So one of the things that you can do to journal on this, and it's very cheap therapy, is you can say, today is May 2026. At the time, I didn't realise that loss was a turning point in my life. And name whatever the pain is that you're feeling. So it could be broken heart, but it could be that loss in the markets. Since that moment, I turned my life around by, and list the ways that you turned your life around and the impact that it had on your life. That way you're putting yourself in your genius future self's position, and you're looking back and you're giving your current self advice.
It's such
Very
a power
cool.
of visualization again. I love it. I'm going to do that.
And allowing
actually.
your intuition and your higher self to kind of get into a flow of just kind of coming out. It's like you're opening a little bit of a gate there to just pour it out. And having a little sentence like that in maybe your morning journal, just one sentence that allows you to go there.
Yeah, I think it's a winner. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the technique called the pre-mortem. Have you heard of that technique?
No, ma'am.
This one's a winner. This one's an absolute winner. And really, I know you two are working so beautifully together. And I wonder if you've done some of this subconsciously. I'll give you perhaps an example so that you can picture how you can use this. When I first started my podcast, Talking Trading, and Tracy, you've been on my podcast just the other week, so thank you so much for getting involved there. So on talkingtrading.com.au, I caught up with my business partner and with a financial journalist friend and with her partner. Now, we were all very invested in Talking Trading. It was something that was so important to all of us, and we were all going to have some level of a role to play because we can't do these things alone, as you know. So we did a pre-mortem technique. I said, picture us, the four of us, in 1 year's time. Now, this is the negative type of process, okay? Because it's going to come out well, but just roll with me because it is negative. In 1 year's time, we all hate each other. The four of us, oh my gosh, our friendship has just imploded. We hate the thought of even talking and trading, and we can't even say those words anymore. Things have gone haywire. Things just collapsed, absolutely collapsed within 1 year of us starting. Now, work backward and say why. And all four of us wrote down, here are all the problems. This is why the relationships collapsed. This is why Talking Trading didn't work. And of course it has, because it's 8 years on, nearly 9 years on, and it's fine. We wrote down all of the possible things that could go wrong. We switched papers and we read them out. Now, what that did is it highlighted particular areas that all of us were worried about, our secret fears, the things that we thought could foul it up, and we were able to scaffold solutions around those fears and those concerns so that none of those fears came true. We thought in advance, we thought ahead to see what are the things that could go wrong, and we worked out methods to alleviate those conditions before we'd even begun. And I think that's why we're still around 9 years later. And a lot of podcasts, they fail in the first 10 episodes.
Wow.
I love that idea too. And Kristen, you and I just listened to a podcast, or not a podcast, it was a YouTube video. And I can't remember who the person was, but he talked about how it's easier for us to find negativity or problems than it is to find solutions. So to do just that, which is what you're talking about, find and identify what the problem is, you're going to avoid making those mistakes. And it will inevitably lead you to success just by avoiding the problems.
Yep.
Yeah. So I like that. I just love it. Now, we are running out of time. Louise, I totally respect having you here. I could talk to you for hours and days, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person one day. So hopefully either you come to Canada or the United States, or we end up going to Australia to see you. But
let's go over there. Let's work that out.
I have two more questions for you. And one of them is, what's in store for Louise, the author? What's up for you next?
Yeah. Well, look, I have got a few things that I'm looking forward to. One of them is going to be a new project around trading psychology, and thank you so much for allowing me to be able to share some of my views, because I'm very much looking to continue the work of Harry. He definitely lit a match inside me, and he fanned that flame around trading psychology. So I'm so excited about what I've got planned with that particular area. And I'm just enjoying my Talking Trading podcast so much, and helping my traders through tradinggame.com.au, helping my traders that I mentor achieve their goals. That to me brings me so much pleasure. It is my life's work, my life's joy, running that mentor program for the last 23 years, having the ability to see the changes in people's lives as a direct result of trading the markets and the methods I've been able to show them. That has been so personally fulfilling and rewarding. I'm so grateful that I was able to have that opportunity.
That's awesome. And if there are any non-traders that are listening right now, and for all of our traders out there, Louise has many books that she's written already. Please go out and buy them. But for the non-traders, even get this one, the Let the Trade Winds Flow, if you want any kind of tool, increased tool, more tools that can really change and impact your life forever and with lasting change. I highly recommend it, even if you're not a trader. So definitely. And just out of curiosity, do you have any books that you'd recommend?
Oh, look, there are so many different books that I would like to recommend. And certainly from a trading perspective, the way to start would be Trading Secrets. That is my book, and I think that would be a great place to start. But in terms of other books, I am enjoying quite a few different ones. I would like, look at that. There's my Trading Secrets book. I do like the Angela Duckworth Grit book. I'm enjoying that at the moment. It's a fantastic area, and she's also got a podcast. I want to thank you two for holding this space for me, because it does choke me up about Harry, and you have helped me feel safe to express my emotions. So I hope you realise that I appreciate that.
Oh,
Anytime.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and sharing everything with us.
Yeah,
It's
I love
super
it. I love what
exciting.
you two are doing, and I love the reach that you have and the ripple effect that you're shedding into the world. It is just wonderful.
Well, Louise, I'm hoping that you'll come back when we're done reading some of your other books as well and talk about them.
I'd love it.
All right.
Yay.
And I will throw all of your links and all that into the description, as well as the books that you mentioned earlier, the one that changed your life as far as Harry's concerned, and the ones that he wrote at the beginning. And anything that we've talked about in here, we'll throw in the comments. So, all right. Thanks again, Louise. It has been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you guys all next week.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. For more information about the show, as well as our list of current reads, check us out at www.theelevatedtrader.com.
Remember to subscribe and share if you found value in today's episode. See you next week.